Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to On Point. This episode, I sit down with Trent and Kody from the Born and Raised podcast, and actually I sit down in their studio. So technically, this is probably their podcast, but I'm going to come out with it on my show as well, and really excited to come out with this one because just like me, they're kind of coming back from a hiatus. They haven't uploaded very many podcasts here recently, so this is kind of their getting back into the saddle episode. And as I'm just starting to recently crank out podcasts again, this is kind of a good fit. So we're going to cover in this episode, what if you could boil everything down, what is the one thing you would tell somebody to go out and be successful in the elk woods or go out and be a successful hunter? What is that one trait, one piece of gear, that one thing, whatever it may be, to what's going to make you the most successful? And that's actually a really hard question. If you're not thinking about it right now, put some thought into it. And you're telling me I'm a brand new hunter. It's really hard to boil it down. So anyways, that's what we talked about. We also went over a few different things, a few different rabbit holes, but outside of that, made for a good, fun podcast, and I hope you guys enjoy.
We're on, guys. We're back from a hiatus. Is that what you call it?
That's what I'm calling it.
Yeah,
I think that's fair enough. I mean,
it is.
Post elk season depression is a real thing, guys.
We're with Garrett Weaver from On Point Podcast, and yeah, post elk season is a real thing. Depression. But anyway, just kind of trying to recap with each other, and we said, well, let's push record. Let's see what we get here.
See where this thing goes.
Yeah.
We kind of had a variety of topics to include, but I don't think we need to stick to one topic because that's the point of a podcast, right? A lot of sidebars.
A lot
I don't think we've ever stuck to one topic, so that's pretty good that we're not, pinholing ourselves.
I do think we got to boil it down to a few, though.
Bullet down?
Boiled. There we go.
Boiled. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Down. So, I asked a question in the office, like what is one thing that if you had to boil it down, not bullet it down, but boil it down.
Boiling that thing.
If you had to tell somebody, here's the one thing you got to do to be successful, what would it be? And though
I honestly
you didn't answer it.
Yeah.
I haven't been thinking about it, honestly, but I will start to think about it now. But, honestly, I think that you could relevate it not just to elk hunting, but to life, I would assume, right?
I think that's where a lot of people don't correlate elk hunting. Because I think a lot of people successful. Well, it's tough to say.
You're going to go philosophical with it, aren't you?
I could.
Wow.
But I think that a lot of people that are successful in life find themselves successful in the elk woods because they position themselves to do that in many different facets of their life. Like everything is geared towards, if they're driven, they're going to be successful at whatever they're going to do. So I think that
I think it plays into it.
Yeah.
I think it does. I'm just trying to think of like the one thing, like to a hunter, right?
Right.
Is that what we're talking?
That's what I was inferring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your? What did you ever say yours?
I am still thinking on mine.
Is this is this a purchasable asset or is this like?
Whoa.
I was thinking.
Born and raised outdoor truck.
Soundbite.
Go ahead. No,
I was thinking it could be a piece of gear or a trait or a mindset, but I don't want, do we need to put handcuffs on our answers here? Because if you just said a mindset maybe is too abstract.
Yeah, a mindset.
And I know that's handcuffing Cody's answer here.
My exact point, or what I said, I'm like mental fortitude. And it derives from it only takes one, right? You can go into the elk woods and be like, it can be epic one day and it can be terrible for the next two. And you can be like, okay, day 4, I'm packing it up and I'm going to move or I'm going to do. So having the mental fortitude of like, and it kind of goes back to that confidence thing. Like, okay, I'm going to stick this out.
Well, so why isn't it confidence?
Mental fortitude, I guess, is
I think
the
I just found
I know, dude, I ran into some guys that were so confident, they cow called and bugled the bull across the field, and they ran after him when he ran off. But they were sure confident they were going to kill him. So Those guys were, I guarantee you, they were confident.
Well, with that, they had the mental fortitude to stay there, didn't they? Now, didn't they?
I watched that bull for an hour waiting to get in position, and then here comes these guys just boom-botting, beatboxing, just...
Confidence.
Yeah, they were just spewing confidence as those
They were doing the cat road shuffle.
Reeking of confidence.
They were sprinting across a wide-open 10-acre meadow.
I think it's a great idea.
When the herd literally could see everywhere. I don't know, but they were confident.
Hey, it's called the rut for a reason.
Right. So yeah, I guess to go to my argument behind it is the mental fortitude of varying conditions. You're homesick. It's cold. It's all these other things. I think it's really easy for people to make excuses. Let's pack it up and go home. And I think to have okay, I'm going to go do this trip, or I'm going to go on this and stick it out to the bitter end and really try, that the act of actually trying. What a lot of people don't. They want instant success right now, or they, if it doesn't go their way right away, then it's pretty easy to quit.
I would agree.
I think that mental fortitude of pushing through those struggles is really the key in a lot of facets of life, in my opinion.
It boils back down to that.
Boils back down for sure.
We're boiling again.
Can I just steal his answer?
No, you can't. Because mine's going to be way different. Tell you that right now.
Well, it just sounds like we're talking about sports. A lot of guys I know who played sports, it spills over into all areas of their life. All those things that they learned how to win, they learned how to lose, they learned how to put in the work. Sports did a lot for me mentally, and I played sports almost all through high school, and then I switched into a different hobby. But there's a lot of good lessons to be learned if you're really, really steadily, heavily into something, say hunting or sports or whatever it may be. You're going to find things that can spill over into life in other areas, and so that's. Hunting's no different. I don't know where I was going with that, but I just think it was kind of interesting. Good point.
Your one best piece of advice then to a hunter would be go play some sports.
Yeah, get in shape. Yeah. I had guys get a hold of me the other day, and I think they'd already talked to you, and what's something that we should prepare for hunting Idaho? I'm like, be in shape and have good boots. I don't know where you guys are hunting or what or how, but if you don't have good boots and you're not in shape, then you're not going to have a good time.
It's going to be tough.
That's not my answer.
It's not. It's not.
No, that was just my answer to them.
Let's back her down then.
So yeah.
So sports ball is not the answer.
No, it's a good answer, but I'm gonna push the ball over to you and just see.
I don't have one. I don't have one yet. I mean, I'm going through in my mind draw the best tag that you can. Okay, I mean,
well, I proved that one wrong this year.
Yeah, you did. So that's out the door.
Yeah,
that's out the door. No, I mean, there's a ton of ways that you can go about this. As far as elk hunting alone, to be successful, quote unquote, you could break that down into even, what is successful.
Yeah.
Right. Is seeing an elk a success? Is just being outdoors and, being away from your normal day-to-day life a success? It could go anywhere. So I don't know if there's a...
I say that on years that I don't fill my tags. Right?
I'm preaching it. I've got one hand in the air, bud.
This is the worst year I've ever had for filling tags. We'll put it this way. I was supposed to kill 2 big bulls this year and a big buck.
You told me it was a gimme. I think you said gimme.
The best year I was ever going to have. I was prepared. I was measuring wall. I was ready to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Down payments, taxidermy.
Yeah. And so, long story short, I told, I was going through elk meat, making room in the freezer like crazy, and I got that thing almost empty, and then didn't fill a tag. So I'm like, crap. So this is the first year I've had in a few years. I've had to go to the store and Safeway and buy meat.
Yeah.
Holy crap! It's expensive.
It is expensive.
It's $6 a pound for a crappy piece of meat.
Yeah.
It's I need to fill some tags. I need to temper
elk hunting's not cheap either, but
it's not. But man, I still got some elk burger, and I wish I had more steak, but it's just insane how I eating my pride to go into Safeway and buy meat.
Eating my pride.
It was, dude. I was literally. I went to the store, came back, and I just was my demeanor when I must have come through the door, because I guarantee you, Kim's what happened to Safeway?
Just deflated.
I had to buy meat, and it wasn't bird meat, it wasn't chicken, it was actual beef, and I'm like just driving myself insane.
Maybe that's
But a good ribeye is pretty tough to beat, too.
It is.
Not tough to beat. You can't beat it. You just can't beat it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think mine would be, I can't piggyback off Kody here, but having reasonable expectations kind of goes along with mental fortitude. You see guys killing giant things every year. All these, but you don't see that's what's great about you guys. Not every video you guys come out with is a kill video.
The heck was that supposed to mean?
Well, you and I might be in the same boat.
All right, good call. Good call. Yeah, good call.
But that's kind of kissing around Cody's idea. There is being okay with failing. Oh, say the word for me.
Okay.
Failing. There we go. Failure. I failed and I say failed, guys are like, oh, well, if you had a good time, you didn't fail. Well, my freezer's empty, so I failed.
So I failed.
In my opinion.
In your mind.
Yeah. If you're to go out there and have a great time and that's, drink beer and have a good time, then you're going to be successful more than I will be. But I'm there to put meat in the freezer. And I didn't do that for like the first 6 years I elk hunted with a bow. I didn't.
Same. Yeah.
No, with the bow.
Yeah. I mean, so
it's tough.
Being okay with failure would probably be my number one thing. But that's like kissing cousins with his idea.
So you could write that in the same book. You need to have strong mental fortitude and being okay with failure.
I think how you said it is like managing expectations, and it's maybe not failure, but to understand going into it. Especially if I was to put myself in a guy's shoes from Iowa that have only seen hedgerows and cornfields, and come to the Rockies, and I'm going on an elk hunt, like I would not expect like, hey, I'm going to go in there and kill a bull the very first year. I'm going to go in and learn and experience this all, take it back, apply it to come and understand that I'm going to commit three or 4 years on a trip like this to make it, to ultimately, hopefully figure it out. Right. And I think a lot of people see video from us, go in, roll into a state, pick up a tag OTC, and we kill a bull day 5, day 4, 3, whatever it is. And I could do that, but maybe not understanding the experience of the 20, I don't know, I think this year was like my 26th archery season or something.
Years
of that, where if I went whitetail hunting, I know that I'm not going to just go kick butt at whitetail hunting, and I'm going to get my butt kicked for multiple years. If I go in there dry and don't have any experience in it, I know personally I wouldn't be like, okay, I'm going to go kill a 160 buck or bigger, and it's going to happen. Like, I know that I'm going to get my butt kicked time and time again till I kind of figure it out. And, I think managing expectations, it's a good...
Yeah, because I see a lot of guys, I get the most common question I get, first of all, is, will my arrow set up kill an elk? But then the other questions come in, what do I need to do to prepare? And that might be, another point that I might, I know I said one thing to boil it down to, but that was a good point, managing expectations. But I think knowing the capabilities of yourself and your gear, because if you're out there, my buddy I was hunting with this year over at Sled found two or three of the same arrow broadhead setups out in the woods in one small area that had been shot at elk. Same arrow. It was like a cheap Maxima with 100 grain muzzy, and the guy was just out there flinging arrows. So knowing your equipment and being, working your craft and being a good shot, but also being in shape, knowing your capabilities, but also making yourself capable would. I know if I'm in shape, I'm killing more animals. Like me personally, I can. That's, and if I'm a better shot, I'm killing more animals because my effective range is getting farther. So maybe that's a cop out there. I don't know.
No, No judgment. No judgment. No judgment.
I'm just really waiting to hear what Trent's got.
Yeah,
I've been
trying to give him more time here.
Oh no. I guess I would say, and probably, I mean, if I thought about this longer, I would have a different answer. But my answer to that would probably be, if I had one piece of advice, would be to critically measure your success, which it kind of goes to a bunch of different facets. What is success to each individual person? Like we've been talking, filling the freezer and punching a tag. But I talk to so many people and so many guys and gals that that just well, we didn't get it done this year. We didn't. I'm just like, did you have a fun time? Mm-hmm. Did you get out with your family? Did you get to see the great outdoors where you're normally stuck in an office? Did you Well, yeah. And I'm just like, I guess that's where my whole critically measure, what is success, right?
Right.
As far as, was that a success just getting to go, having the health this year to go? A lot of people's parents don't get to do that, or whatever the case may be, because of illness or something of that measure. So that would be mine. It's just, I this whole year, I didn't even hold a weapon in my hand. I never even hunted a day this whole season.
Really?
Yeah. And which is totally fine with me. That was totally fine. It was just one of those things where I kind of wanted to do it just to kind of get back to, okay, do I have to kill something every single year? Do I have to be, the guy that is, trying to make it happen? Or can I just go and have fun and be a pivotal, component in the whole game itself? But where's my success lying there, right? I didn't kill anything, but I still feel like the season, I succeeded this season,
right.
So I guess that would be mine. How about that?
Yeah.
Decent?
No, I think it's really good.
See?
I think it all comes, I think all three of our answers, it wasn't something you go purchase off the counter or over the counter.
That's a good point.
I think that it truly comes within of where who you are as a person, what you want to accomplish, and how do you want to accomplish it. Where I think a lot of people like, okay, well, I need to buy this, and this, and then
I can be successful.
Then I can be successful. I mean, a lot of early years trying to figure out backpack hunting was a aluminum frame pack strapped with a fanny pack on it, with a Walmart bag, and everything else that enabled down the road those experiences, saying, I could do this with whatever I need to do it. Those are just
right
pawns in the equation, right? It's still what's between your ears, how things go down, and so. That
being said, get the best damn tag that you can afford. It'll give you some more chances.
The other scenario there, I think that we didn't talk about, is time.
Yeah,
time in the field. In my opinion, especially growing up rosy hunting, you had to have as much time as humanly possible in order to be successful, because lower animal densities, all these different factors. There for a long time, we would hunt pretty much like 28 out of the 30 days out of season, every night after work, except usually the first week we would take like Wednesdays off or Monday night after a weekend hunt. And then we'd hunt the entire season, every night, every weekend. And I think you give yourself the most opportunity if you can put the time in. Like, a weather window hits and you've only got a 5-day window, you may get shut down for 4 of the 5 days or 3 of the 5 days. That just kind of takes you out of the game. So maximizing the time in the field, I think, is a big factor.
And learning that, and learning the time. I mean, every single time out, that's the whole thing. The other thing that kind of goes on with what I was saying is, like, every single people or person that I talk to, every year they learn more. They learn, I won't do that again. That was dumb. Why did I not check the wind, or whatever it may be? It's definitely one of those things where you build to that moment. And then I'll be totally honest, once you get to be a killer, I call it, once you get that harvest, once you actually figure it out, your confidence level soars. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy how it starts to become a habit, and you start to kill every single year almost. You start to kill an animal.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, it's that way with a lot of people I talk to, and it's crazy, but it's the truth.
And it's not like increased opportunities. It's just the effectiveness of when you're presented that opportunity.
Yep.
It actually happens.
the efficiency.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's a bull I killed 2 years ago. It was actually my first Rosie, and with a bow. And I had been in that situation that I'd killed him in, I don't know, a dozen times before. And he was screaming up. He was hiring me. He was in reprod. And I was down here on the skid road. And we were just bugling back and forth to each other for about an hour, just screaming. I mean, it must have been 50 times, just bugling back and forth. And then I'm like, I've been in this position enough. It's going to get dark. Nothing's going to happen. And then so I charged up the hill, got 17 yards from him, and smoked him. I'm like, that only happened because I failed to do the right thing a dozen times before that, right? I put in the time, got the failures, and then was able to learn from those. And what's that worth? I mean, you have to be willing to go out and spend the time and learn from your mistakes, like you said. And fortunately, it took me 12 times to finally learn from that mistake. But you know, I catch myself every time I get in a situation anymore. I don't know if you guys are the same way, but it's like, been here, done that. Here's what the bull's going to do. Here's what I should say. You know, there's another instance this year where I was hunting with Mike Myrie from Ragged Ridge Hunt Tag.
Yeah.
Super cool guy. And
know him well.
Yeah, I was coming back for my second trip over east. And he's like, I got this bull bugling this morning. Pretty sure he's still there. Can you call for me? I'm like, heck yeah, I'll call for you. So we went there and got in position. Bull starts bugling. Long story short, we work in, and the bull's a little bit closer to the edge of the timber where we thought he was. And he bark chuckles. And how many times do guys just, they don't do anything? They just, they don't
you gotta react.
Yeah, so immediately I cut him off with a bark chuckle. And then I never saw the bull, but apparently the bull was like, whoa, whoa. And then started skirting into a shooting lane, and then he basically shot him. I'm like, heck yeah! Like, how many times have I let that slide? You know, like, there's a lot of things that, and I got it on video, which is pretty cool. But you know, these are the things that, the mistakes that I've made personally that I know have transferred into successes.
It turns the hunt from an encounter to a harvest, right?
You should have been there. The bull.
How many times have we done that?
Yeah.
Dude, he was screaming in the reprod at like 50 yards. I'll bet he bugled 50 times. How many times have you heard that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He was fired up.
He was fired up, so fired up, and then it just got too dark on me.
Yeah. We ran into, when we were hunting a very pressured unit in Oregon this year, and we ran into guys that was like, man, bugle, like, here's what you need to do. Like, we were listening to it go on, and we pushed in not knowing, you know, if the hunters were where they were. So we got in, basically saw what was going on, and then backed out because we didn't want to ruin their shot. But I'm like, if you guys would have done this, I think that bull would have done this, you know.
Right.
And so, you know, we almost circled around him and we thought about calling for him, but we didn't want to be somebody's excuses for not killing a bull. So, but we almost
that could go bad.
Yeah, that could go bad.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's you know, I bet those guys learn from that situation, you know, all the time. So it just takes time. But if you're looking for actual, like, time spent in woods this year, I spent over 20 days in the woods, passed up 3.
That's really good.
You're going to kill me here. Passed up 3 5 points. And
that's not good. And right now he's buying beef. That's what he said.
Yeah, and I'm going to the store and buying beef. And so I got, you know, I wasn't even being that greedy because it was a good tag. But again, I should have shot one of those 3 5 points I had in range.
Hey. But that's the whole thing. Like, goes back to the success thing. You could have.
I could have. I should have.
And now looking at you, maybe should have.
Yeah.
But you never know. You never know.
Hindsight's 20/20, right?
Yeah, you're there to shoot. You know, the biggest. I was there to shoot a 280 minimum.
Yeah.
And a 210 isn't a 280. You know,
but it's close.
It's, you know, you're only about 100 pounds.
Close. Yeah. You ever shot a 5-point before?
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
Well, one thing we kind of talked about. And we touched on here, time in the woods. When this is a good question, right? On when you should go elk hunting, archery elk hunting. What's the dates?
It's going to be one of your most asked questions you get, that we get.
No, and I think that you can have all the theories in the world, and it literally is year to year, location to location. Doesn't matter. Sometimes, you know.
Yeah, I would agree. That being said. Is there a time that you'd say I'd rather hunt now than these dates than not? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Okay, let's pretend that you had 1 week to hunt and Oregon was your state.
I'd say 10 days.
10 days.
I'm not good at math, so it gives me an easy
10
equation.
days. Yeah. And we don't have to constrict it to Oregon, but
11th through the 22nd.
Really?
I would say.
Mine would probably be pretty close to that.
I was going to say 10th through the 20th.
You'd be a day off.
Yeah.
No, it seems like it. That being said, like you're saying, Oregon this year was on fire right out of the gate. My dad, he was calling bulls right and left the first week of season. He was crushing, and we were around. We did good for the first. We killed a bull opening day.
Yeah,
and then bugled a bull. Yeah. So I mean, we did good and everything, but as far as from what everything I heard, Oregon was lights out the first week, and then it kind of petered.
I had an interesting experience this year. I was in Wyoming from the 1st through the 12th, and hunting this same area.
Same herd, really.
A lot of it, yeah, exactly. Like we could actually glass onto these elk a lot of times. So it was honestly like a day-by-day progression watching these bulls. Where like opening day there was six points together, and then that night I think we saw another 4 bulls. So there's 10 bulls within a 3/4 of a mile on this face. No cows, literally no other elk but these bulls.
0 cows.
Yeah, and they were all good bulls. Like the smallest one was maybe 280, biggest 350, 360.
Holy smokes.
Like incredible.
I call those shooters.
Yeah, shooter. the biggest 5-point I've ever seen.
Shooter.
Yeah. So watching the progression, as season started, they wanted nothing to do with any call, bugle or cow call. Like it was, I think day 3 is when, I think it was the 3rd day, I called the bull in with a cow call, soft cow call through the timber, and we slipped up on him 100 yards. Like we were 100 yards when we first responded. So, and then by day 12, absolute chaos, rut fest, screaming bulls. There was bulls with cows here. There was like basically 3 or 4 different herds all within a 1/4 mile area, like cohabitating, and it was just...
Are you going to still stick with your it doesn't matter?
Well, no, like that said, it depends on how you want to hunt them.
True.
Like
that's a whole other topic.
Exactly. Yeah. Because
your best chance at killing one of those bulls is probably spot and stock.
100%. You could have gone in there spot and stock, or sat on. Like we watched these elk come out of the timber in the same spot on the same little bench a couple different times. Like if you would have sat there and had the wind right, you probably could have killed a giant that way. And they were they were like velvet black-tailed deer. Like they came out into this part of the, they fed, went into the timber, like
day in, same kind of places.
Yep. And then as the rut started, we couldn't find those bulls. Like I don't know where the giant bulls went.
Did the cows come to where you guys were at, or did they go get them?
No, I think they went and got some.
They went and grabbed them and brought them.
Because there was one day, and I don't remember, maybe day 8 or 9 or somewhere in there, maybe one of those days, all of a sudden there was 20 cows on that bench.
Just like
that they had not been there the whole entire time.
That crazy.
But yeah, it's just so it's interesting. It's like if you want to have a scream fest with a bull, I think middle of September on, you're going to hear more bugles and see more rut activity. If you want to slip around and call a bull in that may come in silent, but it might be a big one, I think earlier in the month is definitely a play. And then you start like moon phase and all that.
This year the moon phase is through like the 11th through or something.
Wasn't there supposed to be like an elk apocalypse last year for the moon phase being perfect for something? I remember a bunch of guys saying that.
Every time I looked up, it seemed to just be like a giant ball.
Huge. Which I don't think's bad at certain times, depending on what the weather's doing. But
yeah, I don't know. Those are the dates that but every year I would say from just years past, I would do Oregon as just the state of Oregon. Yeah, the coast, like Roosevelt stuff as early as possible.
Yep, that's what I was going to say is I do, because the last 3 years have been really hot first thing, and if you're up there looking for the elk before season, you're hearing them bugle a week before season, 2 weeks before season. Like, that happens almost every year when I'm out scouting and stuff. I'm hearing bulls bugling the week before.
That's nuts.
It's like, what the heck? And then they shut off like maybe 3 or 4 days after season starts, and then they'll pick up a week later, and I don't think I think to a certain point, scientifically, you can almost time when the cows are going to go into estrus because of the whatever they call it,
photosynthesis.
Whatever the light in the eye thing that they talk about. I'm not a scientist, but I don't know if you can hit that random estrus cow. There's a big variable there because all it takes is one hot cow, and then you have a whole drainage that's on fire.
Oh yeah.
It's just so I would probably echo what you guys said because a lot of the guys that I talked to, around the 16th.
Is it?
It's on the coast. It's pretty hot. I killed my bull last year on the 16th. So, but he wasn't bugling. He was in the middle of a unit, and it was spot and stock. And he didn't even stink. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just pick 10 consecutive days and just go for it, honestly. And I wouldn't care about moon phase. I would care more about the weather. If it was raining over here, I've never done any good bow hunting rosies in the rain. I don't know why.
They seem to shut down for a day and a half or so usually.
Yeah, it's the same. Like if a big snowstorm hits Rockies, it's going to be tough for the following.
Yeah,
days.
I would look more closely at weather than moon phase because I can tell you I was hunting. I was all over. It was like around I forget. It was like the 20th this year. There's some certain moon phase and equinox, and it was supposed to be elk-pocalypse, and it was like a desert out there.
Ghost town. Didn't pan out.
What's going on? There was 20 bulls here, 2 days ago. Where do they all go now? So
right.
I don't know. I think people overthink it, honestly, and maybe they're just looking for an excuse to say, hey, well, we hit it wrong or something like that. But I can tell you, every year we go over to Eastern Oregon, at Labor Day, they're screaming. And there's a lot of
mostly the second weekend, right?
Second weekend. They're screaming over there, and not all. There's a lot of still lone bulls out there, but man, you're calling in and getting a lot of activity on the 5th or whatever Labor Day is.
Yeah. What was interesting to watch, like there in Wyoming, there wasn't a lot of tag holders, but it was like a big recreation area. So Labor Day weekend.
Really?
Yeah. There was one train of side-by-sides on the road. There was like 47 side-by-sides doing a trail ride thing. Like, I've never seen the like road traffic.
No kidding.
And it was tough hunting right around then with all the people activity. But the weird thing was that opening night, and I can't remember exactly where the calendar fell, if it was a Friday or whatever else. Right along the highway where all these camps are, where one of our camps are, bulls screamed all night long within a couple hundred yards of all these camps. And
crazy.
Like the first opening night and then the second night of season.
And they're hearing generators and all sorts of talking and
everything.
They don't care.
It was discouraging because you're like, man, all these camps. So literally there was like 100 and 20-some camps. But so I think the big thing too is just pressure, right? Depending on where, like early season, I think you're going to have success in that, like somewhat easy accessible. The elk are doing their thing.
Right. Haven't been pressured.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so if you're going to go later in the season, like in Colorado, if you go after the muzzleloader, I think a lot of people archery hunters hit before the muzzleloader. You're going to find less people after the muzzleloader season or during the muzzleloader season because they don't want to be there with muzzleloader. And those elk are going to be in different areas, kind of pushed into some of these different pockets that.
You're hitting an area I want to kind of get into here. What's one giant misconception for when it comes to elk hunting that if people it's just wrong? Like
biggest misconception.
Like you just said, there's a bunch of camps right here, but the elk are still there.
Biggest. I would hold a different realm there. It's more affordable than you think,
More affordable than you think.
Well, biggest misconception to me is that's what I think 90% of the people are thinking, I can't do it. Or, and I'm not talking about affordable, I'm talking, I guess, obtainable. And that may be financially, that may be mentally, that may be physically. It's more obtainable than anybody gives it credit, I think.
That's fair.
That comes right in, he's hunting right off a road, pretty much.
Yeah.
Camps all around. Got to hike from here to the, whatever.
There was like hatchback cars where we were hunting.
Yeah,
like
100%. Yeah, it's interesting because if someone, say from back east, I use Iowa, for example. They want to come out Roosevelt hunting Oregon. It seems to me like it would be a daunting task to come out here, Coast Range, pick a unit, figure out access. Okay, we're going to go up Burnt Mountain, right? You know, I mean, that...
Good way to get in trouble if you don't know your access.
Exactly. Yeah, but outside of that, like, just low numbers, kind of gnarly country in the sense it's small. It's not big country like some of the Rocky stuff, but...
Steep and brushy. And versus go to Colorado, way more elk, big country, a lot more pressure.
Yeah.
You know, it seems more unattainable to come do that Roosevelt hunting here in Oregon versus go to another state. When you say it's easy, there's there's got to be barriers to entry, I guess you would say, but at the same time, I see what you're saying there, like certain species and certain elk. I'm just saying elk hunting in general. With the internet, with Go Hunt, with OnX Maps, with all these things, Google Earth, with all these things that you have now at your fingertips 24/7, and being like, nope, can't do it. You know, there's more information out there than.
Yeah, I think that's a giant misconception of people. Like, I'd love to elk hunt, but that's a rich man's sport or something like that. Literally, you spend more probably on coffee in a year than you would elk hunting. You know what I mean? So
you look at me like.
I was going to do it. You got that Starbucks in front of you right there.
$5 right here.
It's the only reason that new Starbucks was
$4.95. There you go.
Yeah. How much did you tip? And tell the truth.
No tip.
Oh, now you're a jerk.
Yeah.
Anyway, that would be mine. Mine.
There's one this year that I was shocked. We were hunting over east again, and it would be sheep. I've always heard if the sheep are in there, we had giant herds of sheep, 500 sheep.
Oh, with the elk?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And the sheep, like if you were, I'm almost convinced if I wanted to get into more elk, I need to become a sheep herder because that guy was covered up in elk every day.
I've heard the same thing though. I've heard sheep and elk do not get along.
I've heard the same thing. This year we got into the most activity and the most bulls and big bulls, listening to sheep guys go yip, and then the dogs barking, and then the ding-a-ling-a-ling on the sheep
bells.
Of the bells. I mean, I have a video on my phone. I'll post it tonight. We called in 2 sheepdogs.
Those big white?
Giant. I'm like, dude, is that a freaking wolf? And then he's like wagging his tail coming up to us. I'm like, dude. So we fed him some hot dogs and some chips.
Yeah, you did.
They followed us back to the truck for about half a mile. Yeah. And so, but dude, those elk did not care about the sheep at all. I'm not saying that's like, oh, don't listen, like, you know, I've also hunted in areas where the sheep.
I watched a canyon in Nevada with deer full of bucks. Sheep moved in the next day. Bucks gone. They were out of there.
I wonder if it's because if there's just not enough feed to support all of them. But
they're competing. You mean for feed? Maybe.
Yeah, because there was a lot of feed in this area. It was beautiful, lush, but I mean, there was some areas where you literally where they would corral the sheep on like a flat spot. It was black. The ground was black when it should have been dirt and grass. It was just sheep turds. Like you couldn't step in 100 square acre plot or yard plot, 100-yard plot.
Really?
You could not step on a sheep turd. I'm like, well, this can't be good for the hunting here. It stinks, first of all. And then there'd be a big bull running right through the middle of it. I'm like, what is going on here? So I'd never seen that before. And we hunted another unit where the sheep were in there and the elk definitely were not. And so, but this year, we were covered up in elk, listening to cowboys yip at their sheep all day.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Really interesting. Yeah. I never thought I'd see that.
A little different. Well, we've been rambling now for almost 40 minutes. I don't know if we've solved the world's problems or not.
Never do.
Nope, I think we came close.
It's a good one to get back in the saddle on.
Yeah, it's a good one to just jump back into it, guys. This whole podcast is sponsored by OnX Hunt. If you guys could go check them out there. It's something that I think everybody at this table uses on a consistent basis. And they've just been awesome. It's been a great tool for us as well.
Yeah, I nonstop drink waterfowl every single time I'm out scouting. Nonstop, pin birds.
Yeah. Trevor's always trying to make calls, trying to figure out landowner. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Anyway, but well, Yeah, thanks, Garrett, for this one.
Yeah, I appreciate you for having me. Yeah. And just so you guys know, I just hit my 100th episode.
100 episodes.
And that is thanks to you guys. So thanks for having me on. And I couldn't think of a better way to break 100. I broke over 100 on my last episode. So this is actually going to be 101 right
That's
here.
awesome, man.
Perfect.
That's
a huge. How long you been doing this?
A little over, not even 2 years, I don't think. Maybe this might be my second year come Hoodoo, June.
That's awesome.
Or maybe my third year, I don't know.
I remember when you were just starting out. And
I'm like going around begging everybody.
And you're just like, everybody's saying yes, and now I got to talk to everybody. I'm like, that's what you wanted, Garrett. That's what you're looking for.
Please talk to me.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
And I think what is really cool, and I don't know, divine intervention, God at work. Trent's last day in the woods, Garrett rolls up to the landing. And, it was one of those moments, I think, that
you remember?
I do. I just hearing you. I didn't know who it was at the time, but you told me about.
Oh, when Garrett. I was going to say where we were going with this. Oh when I met
Garrett rolled up. This was your last day in the woods working.
It was.
And it's just
first cutter I've ever seen hit the road with a smile on his face.
Actually, usually at the end of the day when you hit the road, you got a smile on your face.
It was I was just thinking about that the other day as I was publishing my podcast, and I was like, man, like that was.
Was that the first time we met?
That was the first time you and I had actually ever met.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Cool.
So thank you guys. Yeah.
Hey, things are meant to be, man, for a reason. So thank you guys so much for listening to this one, and we were going to pump out more of these.
Yes.
It's going to be on get ready for a steady diet of the podcasts because here it comes.
All right, guys, that's this episode of the podcast. Thank you, Trent and Kody, for sitting down, and thank you guys for listening. If you haven't yet, be sure to leave a review. iTunes seems to be the best platform for that. It's super quick and easy if you're listening to it on iTunes. Or if you have a suggestion, hit me up on Instagram at OnPointWithGarrettWeaver, and I'm always open to suggestions, and I try and hop on those as quickly as possible if they're good and relevant. So outside of that, guys, appreciate you for listening, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.